Alright, so let me just get back down here and see what we're doing. Hold on a minute. Okay. I don't believe this game has any... Hold on 1 minute. Okay. Everything actually fits in there. Alright. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are back in the game called Rixas. Not Rixas, as I used to call it Rixas, but it's Rixas. I might be saying it wrong again. I'll never get this name down. I don't know. It's sad because I spend literally hours. You can't see it, but I have a paper with let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, still going. 20. 20 different cartridges that I've designed in this game. Distinct cartridges, we can say. Let me show you. So the Akita Inu and the Akita Suna are Suba. Did I say Suna? Why did I say Suna? What's wrong with me? These are both basically the same round with one main difference that you can probably see, but maybe not. Um, one is sharp, one is not. Basically, almost the same cartridge. What you'll notice about these rounds, though, is I need to fix them first off, but you probably don't notice that unless you're really smart into military logistics or whatnot. But I'll fix these maybe later. Maybe later. Definitely not right now. But yeah. I forgot what these were. Oh, what is RT? What is RT? What do these do? AP, rigid, 2, rigid tracer? Is that? No? What does RT mean? Oh, rigid tungsten. What? Hold on, let me look inside of this. I completely forgot what. Oh, this is the super ultra. Okay, let me take it. No, I need to get rid of that. This is a secret round. Nope. Okay. Anyways, yeah. Secret round as far as I want to use it against potentially other people to get super good penetration values out of it. But yeah. Is this just T? Why is why is there an orange band? Oh, because it has explosives inside of it. Interesting. Okay. Completely forgot. It's been probably a month, maybe two, since I've designed these ones specifically. But in that meantime, I'll show you what I have been designing. Nice, good old sniper. Usually, most of these have been AT, anti-tank slash what's the designation? I said marksman rifle. Yes, AT slash marksman rifle. Something I've one of the more popular shorts of this. Very hard to get a short of this game because it is not usually something you can condense down. But the most popular short is keep in mind what your purpose is, and this is a very good example of that. You'll notice that it's essentially just almost the same thing as a 2K on. If you just pretty much put them side by side. I know this is a tungsten variant, but we'll just ignore that. It's almost the same thing. Um, I got so many different variants. I flippin' forgot about this. The lap is the proper version I should be showing here. So yeah, this versus this, it's almost the same thing. The main difference being Spitzer and the fact that the bullet itself is actually longer. And why is that even remotely important or valuable? Why would I literally shorten this down by 0.2 millimeters and I lengthened the round by like 3? Very tiny, minute differences. From the outside of things, very tiny, minute differences. Another thing is I made it Spitzer too. Well, main thing to know here is that having a different Spitzer, each Spitzer goes faster. So you have Spitzer 2, and then you have Spitzer 3, which is essentially just a spike. I think modern rounds are more on the Spitzer 2 level, seeing as Spitzer 1 is more of an artillery round by the looks of it. Because this is not, like, if you grab most of your flippin' 7.62, let's go ahead, pull that up in another window while I'm talking about it, but if you pull up a normal 7.62 by 51, you're going to notice that it doesn't look quite, it's way more pointy. Very, very much more pointy. Actually, it might even be considered Spitzer level 3 here. There, we'll do this one. There we go. So as you can see here, that versus, I'll go slow so it's not, definitely not the same as a Spitzer 1, but it might be resembling a Spitzer 2. Potentially even, let's see, potentially Spitzer 3, but I think more of a Spitzer 2, yeah. It's the wrong one. Nah. But yeah, Spitzer does a number of things. It helps it with armor penetration, 1. 2, it helps it go faster through the air, because it's more of a cutting motion through the air. And 3, because it is cutting through the air and moving faster, it's spending less time in the barrel, so it actually helps your barrel more often than not, and it releases and relieves some of the pressure that the round is going to hit into your barrel. And the reason why that's important is because you're not going to always be able to use a barrel for production purposes. You know, I have all these different types of barrels as well. I've been rather busy doing a whole lot of almost nothing, to be fairly honest. All of these are just variants of the same thing. I'm just trying to get... I don't have the visualizer on, so it doesn't even look different. So yeah, see here, 1345. And then this one uses more of a 41... It's supposed to be 4140. To fix that. We must fix that. Yeah, 4140. Right here. The difference is cost and weight. 1345 is very, very weak, so you'll notice that the very thick, and they're also auto-fretted, which is a very expensive process to basically strengthen the barrel. And not auto-fretted, fairly weak. It doesn't seem like a lot. But making it auto-fretted basically doubles the whole process. So, not very cost efficient, but if you want a lot of power through your weapon, it might be worthwhile. Especially with the type of thing that I'm designing. This is a battle rifle, and a battle rifle, you typically want, you don't want your soldier 100 meters from your target. You want them to be able to engage the enemy from 300, 400, maybe 500 yards away. So this is the purpose of, you know, having this barrel auto-fretted, because it's using a very old type of metal, so that it will be able to be used around the year 1890 to maybe 1900s. I think it's like 1930 or 1940 something that you get the 4140 dropped, right? Let me pull up the video game information here. This is supposed to be relatively adjacent, not replica necessarily, but adjacent to the real world. 1930, not 1940, my bad. So yeah, in 1903. Okay. Still wrong. Still wrong, my bad. So around 1890, you get the 1345, and then in 1903, you get the 4140, and before that, you just have access to 1075 and whatnot. And, it's really hard to get the barrels to withstand a round without just, like, exploding or cracking. So that's why making sure you probably have it spitzered is important, and choosing which spitzer you want is important. The reason why you don't just go Spitzer 3, why I don't have Spitzer 3 on the other one, is I think not only is Spitzer locked at the very beginning of the game, um, Spitzer is locked, and um, the first thing I don't know, the second thing that I definitely do know is I can show you the difference between probably the 2K on. I have to pick out the barrel, the proper barrel, because that's a real problem. For me, not for you or necessarily anybody else. We'll go 2K on Suba, and, you know what, we'll just do average conditions. I don't feel like doing something ridiculously fancy. And we're just 250 meters, nothing too crazy. Um, we'll say 5 millimeters. Again, nothing too crazy. We'll just do 10 degrees with 0.75. If you want to know what the armor quality is, it's nothing concrete, if you will. It's based upon different armor hardness. So there's a Richter scale for rocks of like how hard things are, and the hardest thing on the Richter scale is supposed to be like diamond at 10. This is using a similar scale with like steel, and I'm guessing RHA of 1 inch steel, basically, of like this is warship steel, if you will. Warship steel is a very advanced and very complex uh, version of steel that was developed, I think, post World War II, like Cold War era. This version of warship steel is extremely tough. It has a very big impact on it. So as you can see, RHA3 is 98.676, and RHA2 99, and RHA1 actually has 100, so it goes through it like butter. We'll just do 0.75, and I'll pick something that it will struggle against. Yeah, 6 millimeters is actually more than good enough. So the tap, you have the tap, the flap, and the lap. Where's the, hold on. Hold on. Something's wrong here. I'm missing, okay, never mind. I'm just silly. I'm a silly boy. Never mind me. The peyote is what I decided to name that. Don't really remember why. I just thought it was a cool name. Saku, I think it was. Yep. This is an anti-tank rifle. This is supposed to be used at long distances. But you'll notice, okay, it goes cleanly through 6 millimeters of penetration. It's not super important. We'll go and bend it to 25, and automatically, crazy, it's only a 25-degree angle, and now it's bouncing. It seems a little, alright, it's at an angle. That sounds reasonable. But in actuality, that's because it's so pointy that it doesn't allow room or any acceptance of angle. And this normal round, that can't be, it's not usually as capable in penetration of other thicker millimeters. It can clearly go cleanly through this simply because it's an angle. So, long story short, Spitzer 1 in round is really good at going through angled armor, but if you have Spitzer 2 or Spitzer 3, as soon as the armor angles even a little bit, it will be having dramatic effects on the effectiveness of the cartridge. I'll go ahead and demonstrate exactly how effective the cartridge is supposed to be. I think we can safely assume that 10 millimeters, I think neither of them can actually penetrate 10 millimeters. I'll go to 10 degrees. So yeah, 5.6. Did it? Hold on, did it have better capability? No. Okay. Thought so. So, this is particularly what the flap was invented for. Flap is invented for thicker amounts of, okay. Yeah, it can't do 10, but it can do 9, and the other cartridge cannot do 9, and especially not at long range. I do remember that. This isn't supposed to outperform the 2K arm. I do remember exactly. So yeah, this is what it's meant for. With the barrel itself, it's an anti-tank / marksman rifle. It's meant to reach out at long distance, rather than just being better at penetration in general. But it does have, just generally speaking, better penetration, and I'll show that here. Takes me a minute. I have to use the marksman version of the rifle, otherwise there's no point in using a shorter barrel. In case you didn't know, shorter barrels aren't usually as good at penetrating as longer barrels are, so it would be unfair to use a short barrel versus a long barrel. But now you can see this thing was penetrating, only 26% chance using the 2K on, but you use the other ammo, the flap ammo, which I don't even think you can use in this weapon. Yeah, technically can't use it. Okay, that's interesting. I wonder why it does that in the barrel. Using a different barrel and a different receiver will affect the capabilities of your cartridge, if it's not properly fitted for that cartridge and for that barrel. As you can see, it's different number than, the results I was getting from the flap before by using the proper barrel and proper receiver, but also different than just the 2K on in general, which is interesting to say in the least. But yeah, so there's a 71% chance of penetrating, even though it's literally almost the same size, if you will. It's a little bit skinnier, but a little bit longer. So it's nothing extreme, but it can penetrate 3 times better, you can say, than the previous version. This rifle, again, is basically going to be a late war version, uh, in lore-wise, of what I want it to be, for how I'm going to try to play the game. This type of barrel, this type of weapon, is going to be produced in very small numbers, and is going to basically be going to a special forces type, sniper battalion type ordeal, where we have weapons that can reach out at long range and can actually take care of vehicles fairly well. Deployed in the battalion as a whole, it's not going to deploy as a battalion, it's going to deploy more as a, probably not platoon level, but it's going to deploy on at least a squad level and support infantry battalions against armor, probably mechanized units, because that's what they'll best do. We'll just go to the tap over here just to see what's the maximum capabilities of this weapon. I'll use my fancy testing version. It would help if I put in actual increments and stuff. I don't want 20, do I? Yeah, why not? So, did I like this song? I should have. Yes, I did. Okay. So, 1,000. As we can see, it has quite a bit of energy. The reason why this is important is because at 500 meters away, we will find, hopefully, yes, it still penetrates very well. 10 millimeters, and possibly, if I remember correctly, 12 millimeters. Not really 12, but anything under 12 is butter to this thing. Very much butter. So yeah. It's not a machine gun, so it's not going to be super effective. And it is long range weapon, so it's very expensive weapon. The barrel that it's using is also really expensive. The type of cartridge it's using is only a slight modification from the main round, but it can have a very large effect on, just trying to produce this in a normal factory. It's going to need a special factory or some type of special manufacturing procedure for just one type of round. Hence why it's probably not going to ever be largely manufactured. Yeah, it's just sniper rifle, to be quite simple. You might think, okay, why do you 11 millimeters is a very small amount of armor. Why would this be a late World War II weapon that you would design? One, the amount of pressure that this weapon actually produces is kind of insane. Just because of the powder I use and the number of powders that I'm using, I'm not trying to make more powders and whatnot. So, the powder, along with like what it's doing, it's 295. It's to put that up against something else for reference. We'll go ahead. We can use a flippin'. Okay, it's the cartridge. 2K on Suba, 314 MPA. That's actually a lot. That's way too much. I've realized that, and you'll see these PW. PW means pre-war. Pre-war has 282 MPA. That's still, believe it or not, way too flippin' much. Something much more reasonable for a production style weapon would be around the Kitsune. We'll just choose the normal Kitsune. And I have to remember, I think it was the Kitu. And it's the MG. That's what the Kitsune is. It's an MG. 214 MPA. This is actually probably 250 MPA is something that you're going to aim for. But this is much more reasonable. Mind you, only having this amount of pressure, I'm going to click this button here, and keep in mind that this is tungsten round, so it's going to maintain a lot of energy, but also this is with an advanced powder, and it has a lot of powder inside of it, with a lot of everything. This Kitsune has such a small amount of pressure, but also such a small amount of energy, it's effectively useless after 500 meters. And really, this thing is not... This machine gun is not what I would call something that's meant for to kill other people or to harm. This is literally just to make sure the enemy keeps their head down. It's not even that accurate, although I don't believe this is the proper barrel that is good for reference. Because I'm pretty sure it's the Kitsune Suba would be the actual... Oh no, it still has a very bad spread. This is Spitzered version. It holds its energy a lot better. As you can see, it actually has more than 100 joules of energy after 1,000 meters, but it most certainly does not have anything capable of going through even armor. The Kitsune Suba armor-piercing rounds is very, very lacking. Even at short ranges, we'll just go ahead and live. Just boom, 100 and we'll say 250 yards is like the most you'd ever want to use this thing at. Again, it's not a piercing weapon. You typically wouldn't want to use this thing to try to destroy something as much as you would. Yeah, it goes through 5 millimeters, and 85% is a good indication of it's not going to go much further than that. At all. It can go through 5 millimeters at 250 meters of range, 100 meters, and it can probably do 7. It might be able to even do like 8. Yeah, definitely not doing 9. It might be able to do 8. It can do 8. 16% or 60% is, it seems low, but you gotta remember this is a machine gun that typically this thing is going to be using is in a machine gun. So 60%, I'll even load up the short version of the barrel because this is point defense. It's really an area denial weapon, really just meant to throw a lot of rounds at the enemy. One of them is going to hit. It's not very accurate in the slightest. Yeah, this .12, that's like 12 inches. 12 inches of spread, and that's like the best accuracy you're going to get. It's not very accurate in the slightest. This barrel is also not very good to be a good example of this, because this is a, as you can tell by the number, a very early version of the barrel, using not really good materials. The Key-2-4 uses advanced version, or advanced metals, and it's also shorter. A lot shorter. This version of the barrel, I can actually just pull up the barrel. That would be easier to make things, describe them better. This version of the barrel is almost identical in materials to the Key-2-3, but it's also lighter. Not much lighter, but it's a little bit lighter. And it's also more cost effective, and the purpose of this isn't really for the cost, it's more for the weight. It's a little bit lighter to allow a soldier to carry it. Although the aerial denial version of the weapon, I might talk with the creator, Elfkan, if you're hearing this, that'd be cool too, to maybe make, like, some sort of turret tripod, because I know he has a tripod or bipod in the weapons designer system, but I'm gonna just check the firearm. The key to, I have the Kenshi. Why do I have the Kenshi up here already? Interesting. The Kitsune. Yeah, there's no real, this bipod detachment point. There's no real turret option on here for like a World War II style mount, if you will. I believe he totally plans on adding that in, because he's literally is commissioned art for a tripod, an MG42 tripod art piece. So I assume that he plans on adding that in. But yeah. So right now the Kitsune Type 3 and previous variants of it are actually fairly light. You know, less than 2 kilograms, and for those American viewers, which there are quite a few, 2 kilograms is roughly 4.4 pounds, and it's just under 2 kilograms, so I'd safely say that it's more like 2.3 pounds. Definitely far from, my bad, 4, 4.3 pounds, because it's 2.2 times 1, or 2.2 times 2, my bad. Yeah, but 2.2 times this number right here is the weight in pounds. 1.4, 2.2 times that is roughly speaking, only like 1 point, I did it again, 3.8 pounds. A very light weapon in total. But mind you, the weapon itself, it's a good thing it's light. It's also shooting a very small round. Compared to like a rifle round, it's not a full rifle round. It's an MG round, and that's important for my nation and how I design weapons. Maybe not for you, and it's definitely not realistic for real life designing. But it's how I just chose to design things. So the whole difference between the MG round and the rifle round, I will show you right now. So I'll just show you the pre-war. So this right here see how long the bullet is compared to the rest of the casing, and just how long the bullet is in general. There's a coefficient for this, and the coefficient, I believe, is 3.1, or is it just 3? 3.13. This is an all-purpose weapon. I plan on making a machine gun that has this in there. And not only is 3.13, it's also able to be used as a sniper rifle, because it's, it's longer, which means it can actually go through the air, and it has better armor-piercing capabilities, and it can flow through the air and maintain its energy a lot better. Whereas a short round, say like 7.62 by 51, NATO has longer range capabilities than 7.62 by 39, which is the Russian or Soviet version. It's the same thickness, if you will, of a bullet, but the bullet isn't as long in the Russian variant, so it doesn't have necessarily as much range and not quite as much stopping power. I think it's like only 20%, 10% less stopping power. Something very small in stopping power wise, but it has a very big range disparity. So let me see here. Show you the Kitsune. So the Kitsune, as you can see, is shorter. It's also skinnier, but the main ordeal here is that it's shorter. And you can already tell just by looking at this. It's a very different coefficient than 3.0. It's definitely way less than 3. Because 6 times 3 is 18, so 15 is way less than 18. The coefficient of this weapon is 2.31. It's done on purpose. It's to, the main purpose is just to keep the round cheap. It's, obviously, one single bullet is not going to be more expensive if I make this, 3, let me do quick math here. We'll just round it up to 20. If I make it 20, it will be of all-purpose. Is what I've designated as all-purpose, which is a 3.1 or around 3 coefficient. I think that would actually be more around the long. Wow. Okay, my bad. I think that's more of 19 would be around the. Well, let me pull up a calculator and do it. As a matter of fact, I'll pull up a calculator. But yeah. 3 times 6.5. Yeah, 19.5. Okay. I'll point that in. So, as you can see here, the cost is 0.045. I have to get rid of that. Okay, there we go. 0.0459, about 0.46, we'll say, versus 0.042. Not a huge difference, but when you're talking about producing around, for a machine gun, and it's supposed to be shot out of a machine gun, hundreds of rounds a minute, I think when I did the calculations, 0.01 is 10 cents right here, and then the 42 is 1 cent, so this is 42 cents a round versus spending 45, basically 46 cents a round. Again, not a huge difference, but you're talking about the difference of making 1 million rounds. Now you are talking about $460,000 versus like $420,000, which is a big difference. It's a difference of like $40,000 that can probably go to purchasing another weapon or purchasing more ammunition. So, on mass scale with mass production, it is important, but it's just a small, tiny detail that you might not know, might not even think about, but something you might want to think about and keep in mind. Another thing here. So you ask, alright, so why is this so long? You said that this is your battle rifle. This is what you're giving to all of your units. Yes. The rifle this is going into is going to start off as a bolt action and almost stay as a bolt action all the way up until late war. I'll try to develop some sort of short piston, some sort of gas recoil type rifle. I've tried to build one, and then the game got updated. I lost that rifle. But by no means was that weapon or that receiver finished, I should say. And it definitely wasn't well designed. I will admit, very, very poorly designed. So, um, hold on, I'm looking at the song. Okay, cool. So, it's not going to be shot out of a machine gun or very likely to be expending thousands of rounds within a few minutes. Maybe a couple hundred, but not thousands of rounds. Also, the round is more costly, and I want this weapon to be, or this cartridge is going to be in a much more effective weapon. Again, I'm planning on spending or on using millions of bullets of the 6.5. It's an area denial weapon more than a lethal take an enemy out weapon. It's more to make sure the enemy doesn't go here because, within 100 meters, it's definitely going to hurt somebody. But further than 100 meters, it's not really going to hurt anything. It's definitely going to make sure that they're not going to try to go anywhere closer than 100 meters. I do have a larger machine gun round cartridge, 10 millimeter. This is the version that would be more of the 240 Bravo type distinction. I wouldn't even say that. It's more of a 50 cal replacement because we don't have 50 cals. Uh, I kind of lied with that. We do have 50 cals, but the 50 cal in this nation would not be for actually, machine guns. Although there is 50 cal machine guns, this nation is more of a how cost efficient can we be than a let's, throw money at the problem and throw equipment and resources at the problem until it goes away. This is more of a how cost efficient can I make this equipment? And that's what this is. This is 10 millimeter with a 2.3. It's exactly a 2.3 coefficient. I wonder how I got that number. um, and I'll just go ahead and I'll pull up the actual 50 cal. You'll notice something kind of interesting about the 50 cal. It's not necessarily all-purpose. I have it designated as all-purpose, but its real first intended role is more of an armor piercing. Um, because it's armor piercing, it doesn't have a lot of different variants like everything else, because it's, again, just like the flap, tap, and whatnot. It's not a weapon that's supposed to be mass-produced. It's not supposed to be mass-produced on a lot of different levels. It's going to start off as an anti-tank round and an anti-tank ammunition, and eventually work its way up to something that's going to be placed onto aircraft and tanks and vehicles, but still not necessarily in the hands of most soldiers. Whereas the Takagi might make it to the standard soldier. You can see just how short of a round this is, how short of a coefficient this is. And the 2.5 rule, I think this follows a 3.0. That's specifically why I have it. I have to find it again. Makaku. There it is. Yeah, it follows a 3.0 coefficient. I think it's like 3.04. Yep, 3.04. It's whatever makes this number look clean. For me, honestly, less than the actual coefficient. The coefficient is a range that I like to try to be, like I said, around 3. But, it's whatever keeps this number looking somewhat clean. But yeah, the tap runs at a coefficient of, let me see, 7.8. It has a coefficient, not 7.8, my goodness. The coefficient of the tap is 3.59. So it is very, I think it's like 3.589, something, something. But it's a very high coefficient compared to most other things here because it is an anti-tank slash, more of an anti-armor. I'd say like more like anti-armored car, if you would. Long range capabilities against armored cars and mechanized vehicles. Definitely a long range weapon for the lead version of the round. Very, very capable. Very capable. I actually like this. I liked it so much I decided to make a bunch of different versions of it. We have the 6.7 millimeter, which you might ask, why would you need a 6.7 millimeter? That's a very small millimeter, very small caliber to have armor piercing. Well, the reason goes back to the 6.5 millimeter. It's an area denial weapon, and it's not very accurate. It's also supposed to be operated in a two-man team. You might ask, why a two-man team? Well, because it's a machine gun. The machine gun itself is, yes, extremely light, but it's supposed to carry hundreds of ammunition. And even if the ammunition is, let's say, 1.5 gram, like 0.013 kilograms, holding 100 of these is still going to be a kilogram. It's still 2 pounds of ammunition. And you're supposed to hold like 300. So you're holding like 3 kilograms, 3.9 kilograms, let's say 4. I'm talking about 7 kilograms of equipment, which is about 15 pounds of equipment. And it's just with the weapon and the ammunition. That's a lot. So it is a two-man team where one guy holds roughly 150 rounds, which is not going to last a lot on the battlefield. And hold on, give me 2 seconds real quick. There we go. Okay. Let me pull it up, because I think, I don't know, I lost a few things, quite a few things, but I also recovered a lot. There we go. Yeah. Holds 150 in ammunition. Is this the gunner? No, this is the gunman. He holds a carbine with the machine gun. And then you have the loadman. I'm going to be fixing the carbine, along with a lot of other stuff. But you can see here, he's supposed to hold at least 200 ammunition. At least 200. It's very heavy, along with the rifle and the carbine and everything else. It's a lot of equipment. So why is the 7.62 or 7.7? 6.7 millimeter existing? It's for armor piercing capabilities within a carbine. An armor piercing carbine, if you will. Something that can give short range armor piercing capabilities. Testing has revealed that it's not significantly. It's called the Kenshi. That's why I was surprised I already had the Kenshi. I'm not super surprised because I was supposed to finish all of my. Now I have to remember what it was. Yeah. I think it was that one. Nope. Definitely was not that one. Maybe it was. Nope. Wasted. So, hold on. Okay, it was. Why would I choose this? Why did I choose that? I don't know. As you can see, it doesn't have a lot of pressure, but it has more pressure than the Kisu, and we'll just go ahead and pull that up. So you can notice here, it holds a lot more energy than the fudge. I already forget the name. Kitsune. It holds a lot more than the Kitsune. A lot more than the Kitsune, especially at range. Um, which is really helpful for armor piercing capabilities. This is slightly less powerful. However, it can actually penetrate armor. It is a carbine, so it's not extremely better than the machine gun, unfortunately. But if the machine gun jams, as machine guns usually do, you're not relying upon, pardon me, you're not relying upon the lead rounds of the carbine that the machine gunner has, as well as, yeah, you can still actually penetrate. Also, I'm pretty sure it has better range capabilities than the, what's it called? Also, it's way more accurate than the Kenshi. Of course, one's a machine gun and this is a rifle carbine, but the machine gun can't really take out a target unless they're 100 meters away. And let's face it, if you have a vehicle that gets up that close, you're kind of in a big trouble anyways. So yeah, as you can see here, very capable. Did it not penetrate 7 millimeters? What was it not I think it was 9. Something like 9. So yeah, 100 millimeters, or 100 meters away, it does well. I think it's the 250, because it loses like 250 joules of energy. Yeah, it's where it doesn't do any good. But to be fair, Kitsune Suba, Kitsune Suba, to find it. There we go. Yeah, Kitsune Suba has no energy retention. Extremely big issue for anything at range. So it outperforms it, even though it's the long. This is the long version of the arrow. Even though it outperforms it, energy-wise, it has no energy retention. So technically speaking, at like 100 meters, it can outperform the Kenshi, but anything past 100 meters, the Kenshi and the Kitsune are about equal, but the flippin' barrel spread of this thing is so immense that you don't want to be trying, you don't even want to be trying to use this at range. Again, the soldiers are going to be carrying a normal, or the gunner will be carrying a normal version of the carbine, but the goal is mid to late World War II era in this game. I plan on having them equipped with a Kenshi round, or at least attempting to equip them with some Kenshi. Another thing that I've realized is I don't really have a carbine, or I did not have a carbine. I do now, and none of the carbines were really light, and none of them really seemed to be effective because they were using the, what's it called? The Kabu uses the flippin' Kitsune. Where? yeah, weapons. We have 3 different Kabus. Kabu Yomi. This is not going to be produced until we're actually actively at war. You can see it's not necessarily light, like super light. It's 4.4 pounds about. Yeah, 4.4 pounds. One uses, okay, yeah, the Type 1 uses the old barrel, and then you get the newer barrel that's way more reliable and can actually fire, I think, the tungsten, or not tungsten, the actual steel core rounds for penetration capabilities, but really just has a lot more barrel lifetime cycles on it. It's also a little bit heavier. But yeah, these are wartime type production. You have the Kabu. Oh yeah, also is the wartime production. You can see it doesn't have a butt plate. It's just straight grip, or semi-grip, with a straight comb. Full hardwood laminate. Laminate is fine, because I need the grip itself to have something rather smooth. The Kabu, something that's going to be more seen on the actual battlefield, it has a semi-grip as well. Also, straight comb. Wasn't this supposed to be changed? No, that's right. No, it's not supposed to be changed. The main change is it actually has a pistol grip, along with having laminate buttstock, which makes it somewhat heavier. Also, a bit more costly. It also has the receiver and the barrel, and the other one only has the barrel with the laminate on it, along with more coverage of the barrel. It's cleaning pod with sling attachment points. I think the Kamiyomi has, yeah, pretty much almost nothing except a sling attachment. So the Kabu, much, much better, but it's also much more expensive. Much more expensive. A little bit heavier, but much more expensive. Also a much better weapon, perhaps, you know? But it's not really something you want to produce during a war. Also much more complex. I think that's another thing, yeah. Complexity, from what I presume in this game, is going to translate to how long does it take to produce this thing, and how often does it break? How reliable is it? If it's very complex, it's probably not going to be really reliable. I'm guessing that a 1.1 will be produced within a couple of weeks, whereas a 1.3 will be produced in 3 weeks. So, do you want 14 days or do you want 21 days? Which can have a big effect if you're trying to get thousands or millions of something produced. But if you only need a couple hundred or a couple thousand, then you're not really worried about it being super complex. Cost is obviously how much materials you need to be put into it, and mass is how much it weighs, so that affects more of what your soldier can carry. Also, ergonomics. You'll notice the Kabu Yomi has no ergonomics on it, while the Kabu actually has ergonomics, can actually function as a carbine and almost as a submachine gun. And then the Kabu Kai has an advanced, because these are all lever action from what I remember, right? I have to remember. Only this one? Yes, it's lever action, but it's tubular, which is easier to produce, but it's also not really good space-wise, and really not good weight-wise. The Kabukai uses a new, much more expensive, much more complex uh, receiver, but also has a much more advanced buttstock. Laminate with a thumbhole grip, Monte Carlo cheekpiece. Still has a butt plate, still has a cleaning rod, still has a bayonet lug. the cost is extremely low. The weight is even lower. So you can see on this thing, it becomes extremely light. An extremely lightweight weapon that is really cheap, but you might still not want to produce this during wartime, so we again have the Kabuyomi that is not quite as cheap, about 50% more expensive, but it's also like way less complex. So if you need 20,000 of these things in 3 months, you probably want to produce the Kabuyomi. But if you just need, a few thousand, a Kabu, if you're, late war, then maybe the Kabukai. And these are going to be very effective. Because the receiver is a fancy receiver, if you will, with an M block design, which is, I believe, yeah, not not as available. Also, I believe it's more complex. If I'm not mistaken. No, it's not more complex. Yeah, but I do know that this is pretty long. Pretty long. Alright. Yeah. I think that's all I wanted to go over. So, yeah, that's just me pretty much rambling. I'll see you all later. If you liked the video, throw a like. If you didn't like the video, go ahead, throw a dislike. Check out the other videos on the channel if you like more grand strategy type content. But if you also like stuff like this, I have a little bit of Aurora 4X on here. Go ahead, check that out. And I hope to see you all next time. Try to have a nice day.